Millionaire offered $20,000 for Cook to pretend to be his wife. She says no 5 times, but Olivia Johnson raised her hand for the 5th time that afternoon, refusing the stack of money the young businessman kept insisting on offering. Sweat dripped down her forehead, mixing with the steam rising from the pots in the restaurant kitchen, where she had worked for 12 years. "I've already said no, Mr. Matthew," Olivia repeated, keeping her voice steady despite the trembling in her legs. "I won't take your money to do this. This thing you're asking." Matthew Anderson, 38, adjusted his navy blue tie and sighed deeply. The heir to the largest hotel chain in the Denver metropolitan area wasn't used to hearing the word no, especially not when offering $20,000, an amount that for many people represented months of work. "Olivia, please, just listen. It's only for a few weeks. You just need to pretend to be my wife during dinners with my grandpa. He's very sick and I've already explained I can't do that," Olivia interrupted, turning back to the stoves where she was preparing the afternoon's bolognese sauce. "Lying to a sick man isn't right, no matter how much money you offer." The noise of the kitchen continued around them. Other employees chopped vegetables, washed dishes, and seasoned meats, but all pretended not to pay attention to the unusual conversation happening there. Olivia tried to focus on her work, but felt the curious eyes of her co-workers on her. Matthew didn't give up. He stepped closer to the counter where Olivia was working and lowered his voice. "You don't understand the situation. My grandpa, Walter Anderson, founded our company 50 years ago. He always dreamed of seeing me married before he passes. The doctors said he only has a few months left." Olivia stopped stirring the sauce for a moment. She knew the pain of losing loved ones well. Her mother had passed 3 years earlier, and she still felt the emptiness left behind. But that didn't change her decision. "I'm sorry about your grandpa, Mr. Matthew, but I can't help you like this." "Olivia, just listen for 1 more minute," Matthew insisted, placing the stack of money on the stainless steel counter. "My grandpa has been in the hospital for 2 weeks. Yesterday he asked when he'd get to meet my wife. I told him she was traveling." The 47-year-old cook looked at the money and then at the businessman's pleading face. $20,000. It was more than she earned in 6 months working at that restaurant. With that money, she could finally fix the leaky roof of her house that dripped every time it rained hard. She could buy the medicine her son Ethan needed for his asthma treatment. She could— "No," she said firmly, pushing the money back toward Matthew. "I won't do it." Matthew ran a hand through his brown hair, clearly frustrated. For 3 days he had visited that restaurant, watching Olivia work. He had researched her, discovered she was a widow, a mother to a 15-year-old boy, and that she always carried herself with quiet dignity and respect. She was exactly the kind of person his grandpa would approve of. "Fine," Matthew murmured, tucking the money back into his suit jacket. "But if you change your mind, you know where to find me." Olivia nodded without taking her eyes off the pots. She heard Matthew's footsteps fading through the kitchen and breathed a sigh of relief. She had made the right choice. Lying never brought anything good, no matter how noble the intention. The rest of the afternoon passed quickly. Olivia prepared dishes for over 100 customers, supervised the kitchen cleanup, and organized the ingredients for the next day. By the time she finally hung up her apron in the cabinet and grabbed her worn-out purse, it was almost 10 at night. The rain had started to fall as she stepped out of the restaurant. Thick drops pounded the cobblestone street, creating small puddles that reflected the light from the lampposts. Olivia pulled her coat tighter around her body and walked quickly to the bus stop. During the 40-minute ride to her home in the Westwood Heights neighborhood, she couldn't stop thinking about Matthew's offer, $20,000. An amount that would completely change her life and Ethan's. But every time she imagined lying to a sick elderly man, her stomach twisted. When she got home, she found Ethan sitting at the kitchen table, doing math exercises under the light of a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. The 15-year-old boy looked up from his books and smiled when he saw her. "Hi, Mom. How was work today?" "The usual, sweetheart," Olivia replied, kissing the top of his head. "Did you eat dinner?" "I had leftovers from lunch. Tea was good." Olivia noticed Ethan was holding an asthma inhaler in his left hand. His chest rose and fell with a little more effort than usual. "Are you okay? Did you use your inhaler a lot today?" "Just 3 times," Ethan lied, trying to hide his mother's worry. In truth, he'd used it 5 times and the medication was running low. He knew his mom was already struggling financially and didn't want to add to her burden. Olivia made tea for both of them and sat at the table. The house was small. 2 bedrooms, a living room that doubled as a kitchen, and 1 bathroom. The walls had water stains, and in the corner of the room sat a bucket to catch the leaks from the roof on heavy, rainy days. "Mom, you seem worried," Ethan observed, closing his math book. "It's nothing, sweetheart, just tired." Ethan knew his mother too well to believe that answer. Since his father left 3 years ago, Olivia had carried the weight of the world on her shoulders. She worked 7 days a week, barely resting, just to keep a roof over their heads and make sure he could stay in school. "Mom, I was thinking, maybe I should look for a part-time job I could help after school." "Don't even think about it," Olivia interrupted firmly. "Your only job right now is studying. You're going to finish high school and go to college. I don't want you to struggle like I did." Ethan nodded but stayed uneasy. He'd overheard his mom talking to the owner of the corner store the week before. They were 3 months behind on rent, and the landlord was threatening to evict them if they didn't pay by the end of the month. That night, Olivia struggled to fall asleep. Lying in the narrow bed she shared with Ethan, since they'd had to rent out the larger room to a tenant, she listened to the rain still falling outside. And she thought about the $20,000 Matthew had offered. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. The next morning, Olivia woke to the sound of water dripping into the bucket in the living room. The leak had gotten worse overnight. She got up early to check the damage. The water stain on the wall had spread, and there was a new crack in the ceiling. "Good morning, Mom," Ethan greeted her, stepping out of the bathroom already dressed for school. "Good morning, sweetheart. Have some breakfast before you go." Ethan glanced at the wet ceiling and sighed. "The leak's worse, huh? I'll figure something out," Olivia replied, trying to sound confident. "Now go, or you'll be late for class." After Ethan left, Olivia sat at the kitchen table and opened her wallet. She counted the bills for the 3rd time, hoping somehow there'd be more money there. She only had $85. The rent was due in a week, and she still needed $400 to cover it. She picked up her phone and called her younger sister, Emily. "Hello, Olivia. What a surprise to hear from you so early." "Hi, Emily. Sorry to bother you, but could you lend me $300 just until I get my paycheck?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Olivia, you know I'd help if I could, but Michael lost his job last week. We're really tight too." "It's okay. I understand. Don't worry." "Are you sure? What's going on?" "Nothing serious, just some overdue bills. I'll figure it out." After hanging up, Olivia rested her head in her hands. She felt guilty for lying to her sister, but didn't want to burden her with her problems. Emily had her own challenges to face. She got ready for work with a heavy heart. On her way to the restaurant, she passed the pharmacy, where she usually bought Ethan's medicine. The clerk, Ms. Grace, waved at her from the window. "Olivia, can you stop by later? I need to talk to you about Ethan's prescription." Olivia's stomach twisted. She knew exactly what that meant. The bill was overdue. At the restaurant, Olivia tried to focus on work, but her mind kept drifting to her troubles at home. While preparing lunch, she cut her finger with a knife and had to stop to bandage it. "Are you okay, Olivia?" asked George, the head chef. "You seem distracted today." "I'm fine, chef, just a slip-up." George, a man in his 50s who had worked there for nearly 2 decades, had known Olivia since she started as a kitchen assistant. He could tell when something was bothering her. "If you want to talk, you know where to find me," he said, returning to his tasks. In the afternoon, as she prepared a shrimp sauce, Olivia heard familiar footsteps approaching. She turned and saw Matthew Anderson entering the kitchen, wearing the same dark suit as the day before. "Good afternoon, Olivia." "Mr. Matthew, what brings you here again?" "I came to try one more time," he said, stepping closer to the counter, where she worked. "My grandpa asked about my wife again today. He really wants to meet her." Olivia kept stirring the sauce, trying to ignore his presence. "And I've already told you I can't help." "Olivia, I've increased the offer," Matthew said, pulling an envelope from his pocket. "Here's $30,000. Olivia's fingers trembled almost imperceptibly at the amount. $30,000, almost a year's salary. "It doesn't change anything," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Please, just think about it. It would only be during dinners with my grandpa. 2, maybe 3 times a week. You wouldn't have to do anything except sit beside me and talk normally. My grandpa is a wonderful man. I'm sure you'd get along." Olivia stopped stirring and looked at him. "Why me? Why not ask one of your girlfriends?" Matthew sighed and lowered his eyes. "Because I don't have a girlfriend. And even if I did, my grandpa is very perceptive. He'd notice if it were just a shallow act. It needs to be someone genuine, someone he'd believe I truly care about. And why do you think it'd be different with me? Because I've been watching you, Olivia, the way you treat people, how dedicated you are to your work, how you take care of your son. You're exactly the kind of person my grandpa would admire." Olivia's heart raced. How did he know about Ethan? You looked into my life?" "Just some basic information," Matthew admitted. "I know you're a widow, that you have a teenage son, that you've worked here for years. Nothing more than that." Olivia felt a mix of anger and violation. "You had no right to do that." "You're right, I'm sorry, but Olivia, please consider my offer. It's not just about the money. It's a chance to make a very good man happy in his final days." At that moment, Olivia's phone rang. It was Ethan's school. "Excuse me," she said, answering. "Hello? Miss Olivia, this is the school office. Ethan felt sick during gym class. He had a severe asthma attack. He's doing better now, but we need you to come pick him up." Olivia's heart raced. "I'm on my way." She hung up the phone with trembling hands. Matthew noticed her distressed expression. "Is something wrong?" "My son. I need to pick him up from school." Olivia quickly removed her apron and grabbed her purse. George appeared in the kitchen and she briefly explained the situation. "Go, Olivia. Don't worry about work." Matthew walked Olivia to the restaurant's exit. "Do you need a ride? My car is right outside." Olivia hesitated. The school was far and the bus would take at least an hour. "Thank you," she said, accepting the offer. During the ride in Matthew's black Cadillac, Olivia remained silent, her hands clasped in her lap. She was worried about Ethan, but she also couldn't stop thinking about the $30,000. With that money, she could buy medicine for the whole year. She could fix the house, she could give her son security. "Does your son have asthma?" Matthew asked, breaking the silence. "Yes, since he was little." "Is the medication expensive?" Olivia glanced at him sideways. "Why do you want to know?" "Just curious. I have a cousin who also has asthma. I know the treatment isn't cheap." Olivia didn't answer, but Matthew sensed he'd touched a nerve. They arrived at the school in 15 minutes. Olivia quickly got out of the car and rushed to the office. She found Ethan sitting in a chair, still breathing heavily. "Mum, sorry to bother you at work," Ethan said when he saw her. "Don't be silly, sweetheart. How are you feeling?" "Better. I just ran out of breath during the run." The school secretary, Ms. Benedict, approached Olivia. "Olivia, I need to speak with you. The emergency medication Ethan uses ran out. We tried contacting the pharmacy, but they said the account is overdue." Olivia's face burned with shame. "I know. I'll take care of it today." When they left the school, Olivia was surprised to see Matthew still waiting in the car. "I thought you'd left," she said. "I wanted to make sure your son was okay." Ethan looked curiously at the well-dressed man giving his mom a ride. "Mum, who is he?" A customer from the restaurant," Olivia replied. "Ethan, this is Mr. Matthew." "Nice to meet you, Ethan," Matthew said, extending his hand. "Your mom has told me a lot about you." Ethan shook his hand, but Olivia noticed her son found the comment odd. On the way home, Ethan asked questions Olivia tried to dodge. Matthew stayed quiet most of the time, but she noticed him watching her son's reaction in the rearview mirror. When they arrived at Olivia's house, Matthew saw the state of the building. Peeling paint, a rusted gate, a roof with broken tiles. "Thanks for the ride," Olivia said, getting out of the car with Ethan. Olivia, can I talk to you for a moment? Alone? Ethan looked between them, sensing something unspoken. Mom, I'll go inside to do my homework. When they were alone on the sidewalk, Matthew stepped closer. Now I understand why you hesitated about my offer. What are you talking about? You need the money, Olivia. It's obvious. The house, your son's medication, how you reacted. When I mentioned asthma treatment costs, Olivia crossed her arms defensively. That's none of your business. You're right, it's not. But my offer still stands. In fact, I'll raise it to $40,000. Olivia felt the air leave her lungs. $40,000. It was an amount that would completely change her and Ethan's lives. Why are you doing this? Because I know you're a good person, and because my grandpa is slipping away a little more each day. Yesterday, he told me that his biggest regret in life was not seeing his grandchildren grow up. He desperately wants to see me happy before... Matthew couldn't finish the sentence. Mr. Matthew, think about it, Olivia. You don't have to answer now, but consider what that money could do for your family. Matthew handed her a card. My number is there. If you decide to accept, call me. Olivia stood frozen on the sidewalk, holding the card, as she watched Matthew's car disappear around the corner. $40,000. It was more money than she'd ever seen in her life. She walked into the house and found Ethan using an old, creaky inhaler with every breath. How are you feeling, sweetheart? Much better, Mom, don't worry. But Olivia worried. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, she sat at the kitchen table and did the math. With $40,000, she could pay off all her debts, fix the house, buy 2 years' worth of medicine, and still have money left for emergencies. She picked up Matthew's card and stared at the phone number. It would just mean pretending to be his wife for a few weeks. It wouldn't hurt anyone. In fact, she'd be making a sick man happy in his final moments. But every time she thought about lying to Matthew's grandpa, her stomach twisted. Her mother had always taught her that honesty was the most precious thing a person could have. You can lose everything in life, Olivia, but never lose your dignity, she used to say. The next morning, Olivia woke up even earlier than usual. It had rained again overnight and the bucket in the living room was overflowing. She got up to empty it and noticed a new leak in the bedroom wall. Ethan left for school without breakfast, claiming he wasn't hungry. But Olivia knew he was trying to save food. It broke her heart. At the restaurant, Olivia tried to focus on work, but she couldn't stop thinking about Matthew's offer. While preparing lunch, George approached her. Olivia, can I talk to you? They stepped aside to a quieter corner of the kitchen. I got a strange offer today, George said. A man came here asking about you. Olivia's heart raced. What kind of questions? He wanted to know how long you've worked here, if you're reliable, if you have money troubles. Said he was thinking of offering you a job. Olivia's face flushed. Matthew was investigating her life again. What did you tell him? That you're the best employee we've ever had, obviously. But Olivia, I was worried. This man, he seemed very interested in you specifically. It's not normal for someone to ask so many questions before offering a job. Thanks for telling me, George. If you need anything at all, you know you can count on me, right? Olivia nodded, but she knew George had his own problems. The restaurant wasn't doing well financially, and there were already rumors about layoffs. That afternoon, Olivia got a call from the pharmacy. Olivia, it's Ms. Grace. I need to talk to you urgently. Can you stop by today? Is something wrong? It's about Ethan's medicine bill. You've reached the credit limit I can offer. If you can't pay at least part of it this week, I won't be able to provide any more medication. Olivia felt the ground slip from under her. Ms. Grace, just a few more days. I promise I'll pay everything. Olivia, you're a good customer and I understand your situation, but I have my own bills to pay, I'm sorry. After hanging up, Olivia leaned against the kitchen counter, trying to steady her breathing. Ethan needed that medicine. Without it, his asthma attacks could turn dangerous. It was at that moment that Matthew appeared in the kitchen for the third time. Good afternoon, Olivia. What do you want now? She asked, not hiding her irritation. I came to make a final offer. Matthew placed an envelope on the counter. $50,000. Olivia looked at the envelope as if it were a venomous snake. 50,000. Yes, and if you accept, I'll pay half today. The other half when we're done. Olivia picked up the envelope with trembling hands. It really was $50,000 in cash. Why are you increasing the offer so much? Because my grandpa got worse overnight. The doctor said he has at most 2 weeks. He really wants to meet my wife before he passes. Olivia felt a pang of compassion. She imagined what it would be like if it were Ethan lying in a hospital bed and she couldn't fulfill his last wish. Mr. Matthew, Please, Olivia. I'm desperate. My grandpa is the only family I have left. My parents passed when I was young. He raised me, taught me everything I know. He's the most important person in my life. Olivia saw tears in Matthew's eyes. For the first time, he didn't seem like a wealthy, powerful businessman, but rather a grandson who loved his grandpa. What exactly would I have to do? Just accompany me on visits to the hospital, sit by his bedside, talk about simple things, pretend we're married, that's all. And for how long? Like I said, the doctors think he has 2 weeks, maybe less. Olivia looked at the money again. $50,000. It would solve all her problems. I need to think. How much time do you need? Until tomorrow. All right. But Olivia, please don't take too long. Every day is precious for my grandpa. After Matthew left, Olivia remained staring at the envelope. There was so much she could do with that money, but there was also her conscience screaming that this was wrong. At the end of her shift, Olivia stopped by the pharmacy to talk to Ms. Grace. The 60-year-old woman greeted her with a sad smile. Olivia, dear, you know how much I love you and Ethan, but my situation is tough too. The supplier is threatening to cut my credit if I don't pay the overdue bills. I understand, Ms. Grace. I don't want to cause you trouble. Look, here's what I'll do. I'll give you one more box of Ethan's medicine, but it's the last one until you can pay at least half the debt. Olivia took the box of medicine with a heavy heart. It was exactly what Ethan needed, but she knew it wouldn't last more than a week. At home, she found Ethan studying at the kitchen table as usual. The boy looked up when she entered. Hi, Mom, how was work? Normal, son. Olivia noticed a new bucket on the living room floor, catching water from yet another leak. Where did that bucket come from? I borrowed it from the neighbor. The other one was filling up too fast. Olivia looked at the ceiling and saw the water stains had spread even more. The situation was becoming unbearable. Mum, there's something I need to talk to you about, Ethan said, closing his book. What is it, son? My English teacher said I need to buy some books for next semester. They cost $200. Olivia felt her stomach tighten. $200 she didn't have. When do you need them? Next week. All right, son. Mum will figure it out. Ethan noticed the worry on her face. Mum, if it's too much, I can borrow them from a classmate. No need for that. You'll have your books. That night, Olivia stayed up late, staring at Matthew's card. $50,000 was a fortune to her. It could solve all her problems at once, and all she had to do was pretend to be someone's wife for a few weeks. But every time she thought about it, she remembered her mother's teachings. Lies always come at a high cost, Olivia. Sooner or later, the truth comes out, and it hurts more than if you'd been honest from the start. The next morning, Olivia woke up determined. She wouldn't accept Matthew's proposal. She'd find another way to solve her financial problems. But when she arrived at the restaurant, she discovered George urgently wanted to speak with her. Olivia, I'm sorry to have to give you this news, but the owner decided to downsize. I'll have to let 3 people go. Olivia's heart stopped. Am I one of them? George sighed deeply. You're experienced and a good employee, but you also have the highest salary among the cooks. The owner wants to save as much as possible. When? Your last day would be Friday. Olivia felt the world spin around her. Friday. That meant she'd only have 3 more days of work. George, you know I need this job. I know, Olivia. I tried to argue, but the decision's already made. I'm sorry. Olivia spent the rest of the morning working like an automaton. Her mind was blank, trying to process what had just happened. Without a job, how would she pay rent? How would she buy food for Ethan? How would she afford his medicine? It was during her lunch break that Matthew appeared again. Olivia was sitting in the small courtyard behind the restaurant, trying to gather her thoughts. "Olivia, I came for your answer." She looked at him with tear-filled eyes. "I just got fired." Matthew sat beside her on the wooden bench. "I'm sorry, when? Friday's my last day." "Olivia, maybe this is a sign. Accept my offer. With $50,000, you won't have to worry about a job for a long time." Olivia shook her head. "I can't lie to a sick man, no matter how much money you offer. What if I told you my grandpa knows it would be an act?" Olivia stared at him, confused. "What do you mean?" "My grandpa's very smart, Olivia. He knows. I don't have a girlfriend, that I've never brought anyone to meet him. If I suddenly show up with a wife, he'll be suspicious." "Then why do you want to do this?" "Because he'll pretend to believe it. My grandpa would do anything to see me happy, even if he knew it was a lie. And I'd do anything to give him that happiness, even if only for a little while." Olivia fell silent, processing what she'd heard. "You're sure he'd know?" "I am. My grandpa knows every expression on my face, but he'd pretend to believe it because he loves me." This revelation changed everything. If Matthew's grandpa knew it was an act, then she wouldn't really be lying to a sick man. She'd just be playing a role that would bring comfort to both of them. "Olivia, my grandpa always told me the most important thing in life is having someone to care for, and someone who cares for you. He wants to see me with that person before he goes, even if it's just an illusion." Olivia thought of Ethan, the bills she had to pay, the medicine he needed, the leaky roof, the school books he required. $50,000? Yes. 25,000 today, and 25,000 when it's over. Olivia took a deep breath. I accept." Matthew smiled for the first time since she'd met him. "Thank you, Olivia. You have no idea how much good you're doing. When do we start?" "Tonight, if possible. My grandpa's waiting to meet my wife." Olivia felt a knot in her stomach. She was really doing this. "But I don't know how to be a businessman's wife. I don't have the right clothes. I don't know how to act in a private hospital." "Don't worry about that. My grandpa doesn't care about formalities. He'll like you just as you are." Matthew pulled an envelope from his pocket. "Here's the first $25,000. Olivia took the envelope with trembling hands. It was more money than she had ever held in her entire life. "One thing needs to be clear. This stays between us. My son can't know." "Of course. You can tell him you got a side job as a private cook." "And how long will this last?" "Like I said, the doctors think my grandpa has 2 weeks left, maybe less." Olivia tucked the envelope into her purse, feeling the weight of the money and the responsibility she had taken on. "We'll meet at 7 tonight at Mercy General Hospital. Do you know where it is?" "I do." "Olivia, thank you again. You're doing a really good thing." After Matthew left, Olivia stood alone in the courtyard, trying to believe what had just happened. She had agreed to pretend to be a man's wife to deceive a sick old man. Even knowing he'd probably see through the act, she still felt guilty. But when she thought of Ethan, his needs, the house that needed repairs, the guilt eased a little. She was doing this for her family. For the rest of the day, Olivia could barely focus on work. Her mind was fixed on the evening meeting. How should she act? What should she say? How would she convince Matthew's grandpa that they were married? At 5 in the afternoon, Olivia left the restaurant and went straight home. She needed to get ready and explain to Ethan where she'd be. "Sweetheart, I got a side job," she said, trying to sound natural. "I'll be cooking for a family in the evenings. Will you be okay alone?" "Of course, Mom. That's great, you got extra work." Olivia went upstairs and opened her closet. Her clothes were simple and practical. Work uniforms, a few basic tops, 2 worn-out pairs of jeans. Nothing suitable for meeting a businessman at a private hospital. She picked the best blouse she had, a navy blue one her sister had given her, the previous Christmas, and the least faded pair of jeans. She brushed her brown hair back and looked at herself in the mirror. She didn't look like a millionaire's wife, but it was the best she could do. At 7 sharp, Olivia was at the entrance of Mercy General Hospital. The imposing building, with its marble floors and elegant decor, intimidated her. She had never been in such a luxurious place. Matthew met her at the reception. He had swapped his suit for something more casual, a white dress shirt and dark jeans. "Olivia, you came. Thank you." "I'm nervous," she admitted. "Don't be. My grandpa is a simple man. Despite all the money, he'll love you." They took the silent elevator up to the 5th floor. Olivia noticed the well-lit hallways, the uniformed nurses, the smell of disinfectant mixed with fresh flowers. "Before we go in, I need to tell you a few things about my grandpa," Matthew said, stopping in front of a door at the end of the hallway. "His name is Walter Anderson. He's 82. He built our company from scratch, starting with a small hotel in the city. He's very sharp and observant." "What does he know about me?" "I told him you work as a cook, that we met a few months ago, that you're a simple, hard-working person. Nothing more than that." Olivia took a deep breath. "I'm ready." Matthew knocked on the door and pushed it open slowly. The room was spacious and bright, overlooking the hospital garden. In the bed, an elderly man with white hair smiled as they entered. "Grandpa, this is Olivia," Matthew said, stepping closer to the bed. "My wife." Walter Anderson fixed his pale blue eyes on Olivia. For a moment, she felt as if he could see straight into her soul. "Olivia," he said, extending his hand, "it's a pleasure to finally meet you." Olivia approached the bed and shook his hand. His skin was thin and cool, but his grip was firm. "The pleasure is mine, Mr. Walter. Just call me Grandpa," he said, smiling. "After all, we're family now." Olivia felt her heart race. The man seemed genuinely happy to meet her. "Sit here, Olivia," said Walter, pointing to a chair by the bed. "I want to know everything about you." Olivia looked at Matthew, who nodded encouragingly. "What would you like to know?" "Tell me how you two met." Olivia and Matthew exchanged quick glances. They hadn't rehearsed this part of the story. "We met at the restaurant where she works," Matthew replied quickly. "I used to have lunch there often." "And when did you get married?" Olivia felt her throat go dry. "Recently," said Matthew. "It was a small ceremony, just the two of us." Walter nodded, but Olivia noticed a knowing glint in his eyes. He knew. Matthew was right. "Olivia, do you have children?" "I have a son, Ethan. He's 15. "How wonderful. Matthew never told me he'd be a step-grandpa." Olivia saw Matthew swallow hard. It's recent, Grandpa. We're still adjusting." "And the boy's father?" Olivia felt a pang of pain as she remembered her husband. He passed away 3 years ago." Walter heard the sorrow in her voice. "I'm so sorry, my dear. I know what it's like to lose someone we love." For a moment, the room fell silent. Olivia looked at the man in the bed and saw genuine compassion in his eyes. "Thank you," she murmured. "Matthew told me you're a cook. You must be good from the way he talks about you." Olivia felt guilty at the kind words. "I enjoy what I do." "That's very important. My late wife always said a person is only truly happy when they love what they do." They talked for another hour. Walter asked about Olivia's life, about Ethan, her likes and dislikes. She answered as honestly as she could, lying only about her relationship with Matthew. "Olivia, would you like to bring Ethan to meet me?" Walter suddenly asked. Olivia hesitated. He has a lot of schoolwork." "Of course I understand, but maybe on the weekend." Olivia glanced at Matthew, who gave a subtle nod. "Maybe." When they left the room an hour later, Olivia was emotionally drained. She had liked Walter. He was truly a special person, and that made the charade even harder. "You did very well," Matthew said in the elevator. "He's a wonderful person." "Yes. That's why it's so hard to see him wasting away in that bed." Outside the hospital, Matthew stopped Olivia. "My grandfather really liked you. I could see it in his eyes." "He knows it's a lie, doesn't he?" Matthew nodded. "He does, but he's pretending to believe because he loves me." Olivia felt tears in her eyes. "That makes it all the harder." "I know, but thank you for doing this." On the way home, Olivia thought about Walter Anderson. There was something about him that reminded her of her own father, who had passed when she was young. The same wisdom in his eyes, the same kindness in his voice. At home, she found Ethan watching TV in the living room. "How was the extra work, Mom?" "Fine. A very polite family." "How much are they paying?" Olivia hesitated. "A good amount. It'll really help with our bills." Ethan smiled. "That's great, Mom. You deserve it." That night, Olivia struggled to sleep. She thought about Walter, about Matthew, about the money she'd received, about the lies she was telling. But she also thought about the bills she could pay, the medicine she could buy for Ethan, the roof she could fix. The next morning, Olivia woke up determined to do her best at the restaurant in her final days there, but her mind kept drifting back to the previous evening's encounter. During lunch, she got a message from Matthew. "My grandfather asked if you could visit him again today. He really enjoyed talking to you." Olivia replied that she'd be there at 7 in the evening. "Who are you texting?" asked George, approaching her. "A client. Nothing important." George seemed suspicious but didn't press further. In the afternoon, Olivia received a call from Ethan's school. "Miss Olivia, I need to speak with you about the overdue tuition fees." Olivia's heart sank. With all the problems, she had forgotten about the school. "How many months am I behind?" 3 months. "If you can't pay at least 1 month by Friday, we'll have to suspend Ethan from classes." Olivia felt panic rising. Ethan couldn't afford to miss the school year. "I'll take care of it, I promise." "Miss Olivia, we understand your situation, but we have our own bills to pay." "I know. By Friday, I'll pay." After hanging up, Olivia did the math in her head. With the $25,000 she had received, she could pay the school, the pharmacy, part of the overdue rent, and still have money left for emergencies. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like, and especially, subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now continuing. That night, Olivia went back to the hospital. Walter seemed livelier than the day before. "Olivia, my dear, how happy I am to see you again. How are you feeling today?" "Better, much better. Knowing Matthew found a partner like you gives me such peace." Olivia felt a pang of guilt. "I brought you some recipes," she said, pulling a notebook from her bag. "My mother taught me these when I was little." Walter took the notebook with shining eyes. "How thoughtful. Matthew, you found a treasure." Matthew smiled, but Olivia noticed he also felt guilty about the charade. "Olivia, tell me about your son," Walter asked. "What's he like?" "Ethan is a special boy. Smart, dedicated to his studies. He has asthma, so I have to take good care of him, but he's a strong kid. I'm sure you're a wonderful mother. I can tell by how you talk about him. I do my best. And Matthew? How does he get along with Ethan?" Olivia and Matthew exchanged nervous glances. "We're still getting to know each other," Matthew replied. "It's a new situation for all of us." "Of course, I understand. These adjustments take time." They talked for another 2 hours. Walter shared stories about building the company, about when Matthew was a child, about the wife he'd lost 10 years earlier. "You remind me so much of her, Olivia," he said suddenly. "Julia was also a simple person, devoted to family. Matthew, you've chosen well." Olivia felt tears in her eyes. This man was being so kind to her, and it was all based on a lie. When they left the hospital, Matthew noticed Olivia's emotional state. "Are you okay? I don't know if I can keep doing this. He's so kind, so sincere." "Olivia, you're doing a good thing. My grandpa is genuinely happy. I haven't seen him like this in months. But it's based on a lie. A lie he knows is a lie. Remember that." On the way home, Matthew asked an unexpected question. "Olivia, would you like me to talk to Ethan, to make our story more convincing?" "No," she answered quickly. "Ethan can't know about any of this. But if my grandpa wants to meet him, we'll make up an excuse. Say he's sick or traveling." Matthew nodded, but Olivia could tell he wasn't convinced. In the following days, Olivia kept visiting Walter at the hospital. With each meeting, she felt closer to the old man and guiltier about the deception. Walter was truly a special person, intelligent, warm, full of interesting stories. On the third day, he made a request that sent Olivia into a panic. "Olivia, I'd love to see your home. Matthew could bring me there this weekend?" Olivia looked at Matthew, who seemed equally surprised. "Grandpa, you can't leave the hospital yet." "Nonsense. The doctor said I can be discharged for a few hours if I want, and I really want to see where my grandson will live with his family." Olivia felt the world spin. Walter couldn't see her house. It was a humble shack with leaks and water damage. It would be obvious she wasn't the wife of a wealthy businessman. "Mr. Walter, our house is under renovation," she said quickly. "It's all very messy." "I don't mind mess, dear. I want to see where you live." Matthew noticed Olivia's panic. "Grandpa, maybe it's better to wait until you're a little stronger." "Matthew, stop treating me like an invalid. I'm weak, but I'm not made of glass." That night, after leaving the hospital, Olivia spoke seriously with Matthew. "He can't come to my house. He'll find out everything." "I know. We'll have to think of something." "Like what?" "I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out." The next morning, Olivia arrived at the restaurant worried about the problem. How could she stop Walter from visiting her home without raising suspicions? During breakfast, George approached her with a serious expression. "Olivia, I need to talk to you." They stepped into the restaurant's office. "I got a strange phone call last night," George said. "Someone was asking about you, wanting details about your personal life." Olivia's heart raced. "What kind of details?" "Where you live, if you have debts, your financial situation. They said it was for a credit check, but it seemed suspicious." A chill ran down Olivia's spine. Someone was investigating her life. "Did you give them the information?" "Of course not. I said I couldn't share employees' personal data. But Olivia, I'm worried. What's going on?" "I don't know, George. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding." But Olivia suspected it wasn't. Someone was digging into her life, and she had a strong suspicion of who it might be. That afternoon, she confronted Matthew when he arrived at the restaurant. "Did you send someone to investigate me?" Matthew looked genuinely surprised. "No. Why do you ask?" Olivia told him about the call George had received. "I didn't send anyone to do that, Olivia. You have to believe me." "Then who did?" "I have no idea, but I'll find out." That night at the hospital, Walter was more insistent about visiting Olivia's home. "I've decided. Tomorrow's Saturday. I'll ask for a few hours discharge and see where you live." Olivia exchanged desperate looks with Matthew. "Grandpa, maybe it's not a good idea." "Why not? Are you hiding something from me?" The question was loaded with suspicion. Olivia felt Walter was testing them. "Of course not," Matthew replied quickly. "We just want you to recover fully before leaving the hospital." "Matthew, I've known you since the day you were born. I can tell when you're lying to me." An awkward silence filled the room. Olivia felt everything crumbling. "All right," she said suddenly. "You can visit our house tomorrow." Matthew looked at her shocked. "Olivia, are you sure?" "I am. If that's what Mr. Walter wants, then he'll have it." Walter smiled, satisfied. "Great. Tomorrow at 2, Matthew picks me up and we'll see your home." When they left the hospital, Matthew was frantic. "Olivia, have you lost your mind? He'll find out everything when he sees your house." "I know." "Then why did you agree?" Olivia stopped on the sidewalk and looked at him. "Because I'm tired of lying. Your grandpa is a wonderful man, and he deserves the truth. But if he finds out, he'll be devastated. Or maybe he'll understand why we did it." Matthew shook his head. "You don't know my grandpa like I do. He values honesty above all else. If he finds out we lied to him, then you should have thought about that before asking me to go along with this charade." Olivia started walking toward the bus stop, but Matthew followed her. "Olivia, wait. Let's figure this out. I can rent a house, say you moved." "No, no more lies. At least let me fix up your place. I can send a crew to do quick repairs, buy new furniture." Olivia stopped and stared at him. "You think that's what bothers me? That my home is modest? Isn't it?" "Matthew, the problem isn't that my home is humble. The problem is lying to a dying man. Your grandpa deserves better than that." That night, Olivia came home determined to tell Ethan the truth. She couldn't carry the lie alone any longer. "Son, I need to talk to you about something." Ethan closed the book he was reading. "What is it, Mom?" Olivia took a deep breath. "The extra job I got. It's not exactly what I told you." "What do you mean?" A man offered me money to pretend to be his wife during visits to his sick grandpa. Ethan fell silent for a moment, processing the information. Mom, that's dangerous. You don't even know this man. I know, son, but we needed the money. How much is he paying? Olivia hesitated. $50,000. Ethan's eyes widened. 50,000. Mom, that's a lot of money. Why would anyone pay that much for something like this? Olivia told him the whole story. About Matthew, about the sick grandpa, about the act they'd been putting on. And tomorrow he's coming here. Yes, and he's going to find out everything. Ethan grew thoughtful. Mom, you did this for me, didn't you? Because of the medicine, school, and I did it for both of us, son. I never wanted you to go through this because of me. Olivia hugged her son. Don't blame yourself, Ethan. It was my decision. What happens when he finds out the truth? I don't know, son. Maybe he'll forgive us, maybe not. And the money? I'll probably have to give it back. Ethan nodded. It's okay, Mom. We've always managed. Before, we'll manage again. Olivia felt proud of her son. Even in hardship, he kept his dignity. Ethan, tomorrow I want you to leave the house, go to a friend's place or the library. I don't want you here for this. No, Mom. I'm staying with you. We're in this together. On Saturday morning, Olivia woke with a knot in her stomach. She knew that in just a few hours the whole truth would come out. She spent the morning trying to tidy the house as much as possible, cleaning the old furniture, organizing their few belongings, trying to cover the water stains on the walls, but she knew it wouldn't make much difference. Ethan helped without complaint, though she could tell he was nervous too. At exactly 2 o'clock, a black car pulled up in front of the house. Olivia saw Matthew step out from the driver's side and walk around to help an elderly man out of the passenger seat. Walter Anderson stood on the sidewalk in front of Olivia's home, studying the simple structure with curious eyes. He wore casual clothes and leaned on a cane, but looked stronger than he had in the hospital. Olivia took a deep breath and opened the door. Mr. Walter, welcome to our home. Walter smiled and slowly made his way to the door. Thank you, dear. I'm so happy to be here. Matthew followed behind his grandpa, his expression tense. He exchanged a quick glance with Olivia, who gave a subtle nod. Please come in, Olivia said, opening the door wide. Walter stepped inside and looked around. He saw the simple furniture, the water-stained walls, the bucket in the corner catching a leak. He said nothing, just observed. This is our living room, Olivia said, keeping her voice steady. It's small but cozy. Son, it's very cozy, replied Walter, sitting on the old couch Olivia had covered with a quilt to hide the tears. That's when Ethan appeared from the kitchen. The boy was clearly nervous, but trying to keep his composure. Mr. Walter, this is my son, Ethan. Walter looked at the boy and smiled. Ethan, finally I get to meet you. Your mother talks about you a lot. Ethan stepped forward and extended his hand. Nice to meet you, sir. The pleasure is mine, son. So, how are you? Adjusting to Matthew as your stepfather? The question caught Ethan off guard. The boy quickly glanced at his mother, then at Matthew, clearly confused. We're still getting to know each other, he stammered. Walter noticed Ethan's hesitation and the tension in the air. Matthew, you've been very quiet, he observed. Aren't you going to show me where you sleep, where you keep your things? Matthew swallowed hard. Grandpa, maybe it's better if we go back to the hospital. You shouldn't be out too long. Nonsense, I'm feeling great. Walter stood up and began walking around the house. He entered the kitchen and saw the small table, the old appliances, the nearly empty shelves. Olivia, you must have moved in recently, he said. There's still so little furniture and personal items. Olivia felt her heart race. Yes, we're still settling in. Walter walked to the bedroom and stopped at the door. He saw the single bed, the small wardrobe, the simple clothes hanging. Is this your shared room? The silence that followed was deafening. Olivia, Matthew, and Ethan exchanged glances, none knowing how to respond. Walter turned slowly and looked at the three of them. His face was serious, but there was no anger in his eyes, only deep sadness. Matthew, can I speak with you outside? Matthew nodded and followed his grandfather to the backyard. Olivia and Ethan stayed in the living room, listening to the muffled voices outside. Mum, he knows, whispered Ethan. I know, son. What are we going to do? Wait, and prepare to return the money. Outside, Walter leaned on his cane and looked at his grandson. How long do you think I've known? Matthew lowered his head. Since the first day, right? Since the first minute. Did you really think you could fool me after 82 years of life? Grandpa, I can explain. No need to explain. I understand why you did it. Matthew looked at his grandfather, surprised. You do? You wanted to make me happy. You wanted me to see you married before I died. I know it was out of love. It was, Grandpa. I just wanted you to feel at peace. Walter nodded. And Olivia, why did she agree? She was desperate. She lost her job, owes rent. Her son needs expensive medication. I offered her money and she ended up accepting. How much? $50,000. Walter was silent for a moment. She's a good person, Matthew. I can see that. She is, that's why I chose her. You chose well, but now you need to decide what you're going to do. What do you mean? Walter looked at the house and then at his grandson. Olivia is suffering because of this lie. I can see it in her eyes. She's not the kind of person who lies easily. I know. She almost backed out several times. And you? Are you suffering too? Matthew nodded. A lot. I hate lying to you. Then let's stop this. You want me to end the agreement with Olivia? No. I want you to turn the lie into the truth. Matthew looked at his grandfather, confused. I don't understand. Olivia is a wonderful woman, Matthew. Hard-working, dedicated, caring. Any man would be lucky to have her as a wife. Grandpa, we don't really know each other. This was all just an act. The best relationships start with friendship and respect. You have that. But she's not interested in me that way. Have you asked? Matthew fell silent. Grandpa, are you suggesting I propose to Olivia? I'm suggesting you stop pretending and start living for real. They went back inside the house where Olivia and Ethan were waiting anxiously. Olivia, dear, can I talk to you? Asked Walter. Of course, Mr. Walter. Let's sit here on the sofa. Olivia sat beside him, bracing herself for the worst. I know, Walter said simply. Olivia felt tears welling up in her eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't want to lie to you. I know you didn't, and I know why. You did it. Are you going to report us? Walter smiled. Report you for what? For giving me some of the happiest days I've had in months. Olivia looked at him, confused. I don't understand. Olivia, even knowing it was an act, I truly enjoyed our time together. You're a wonderful person. But we lied to you. You tried to give me a gift of love. Yes, it was based on a lie, but the intention was pure. Olivia began to cry. Mr. Walter, I was so desperate. The bills, Ethan's medication, the overdue rent. You don't have to explain, dear. Any mother would do the same for her children. Walter looked at Matthew and then at Olivia. Now, I want to make you an offer. What kind of offer? Olivia asked. I want you both to stop pretending and start getting to know each other for real. Olivia and Matthew exchanged glances. Grandpa, Matthew began. Hear me out, Walter interrupted. Matthew, you're a good man, but you've been alone for years. Olivia, you're a wonderful woman who deserves someone to take care of you. Why not try a real relationship? Mr. Walter, we're from completely different worlds, Olivia said. I'm just a simple cook, and I'm a businessman who can't even fry an egg, Matthew added. Our worlds could complement each other. Olivia looked at him, surprised. Are you serious? I am. Olivia, these days getting to know you have been special. You're different from any woman I've ever met. But you barely know the real me. Then let's get to know each other. No pressure, no act, just two ordinary people. Walter smiled, satisfied. Exactly what I wanted to hear. Ethan, who had been silently watching the whole conversation, finally spoke up. Mom, what do you think? Olivia looked at her son, then at Matthew, then at Walter. I don't know. This is all so confusing. You don't have to decide. Now, Matthew said, we can take it slow. Dinners, conversations, getting to know each other without the pressure of pretending. What about the money? Olivia asked. Keep it, Walter said. Consider it an early wedding gift. I can't accept. You can and you will, Walter said firmly. A family trying to build itself needs financial stability. Fresh tears filled Olivia's eyes. Why are you being so generous with me? Because you deserve it, Walter replied, and because my grandson needs someone like you in his life. Matthew stepped closer to Olivia. Olivia, will you give me a chance? A real chance? Olivia looked into his eyes and saw sincerity. She also saw a lonely man who, like her, needed a family. I will, she said softly, but let's take it slow. As slow as you need. Walter clapped his hands, pleased. Wonderful. Now I want to get to know my future great-grandson better. Ethan smiled for the first time since the charade had begun. Do you play chess? I do. You too? Learned from my dad. Then let's play a game. As Walter and Ethan headed to the kitchen table, Matthew and Olivia were left alone in the living room. Olivia, I know this is all strange. It's very strange, she agreed, but it's also interesting. Do you really want to try? I do. But you need to understand something. I come with baggage. I'm a widow. I have a teenage son. My life is complicated. And I'm a 38-year-old workaholic who's never had a serious relationship. I have baggage too. Olivia smiled. So we're even. How about we start with a real dinner tomorrow night, just the two of us? What about Ethan? Ethan can spend more time with my grandpa. They seem to be getting along. From the kitchen, they heard laughter from Walter and... Ethan, checkmate, Ethan shouted. This kid is good. Walter laughed. Olivia and Matthew smiled at each other. I think this might work, she said. I think so too. That afternoon, for the first time in weeks, Olivia felt hopeful. Not just about the money that would solve her immediate problems, but about the possibility of a new life. Walter stayed at the house until late afternoon, talking with Ethan, learning about the family's routine, asking questions about school and the boys' dreams. Ethan, what do you want to be when you grow up? Walter asked. I want to be a doctor, to help people like me who have breathing problems. A noble goal. And where do you plan to study? At the public university. I'm preparing for the entrance exams. What if I told you I know the dean of the best medical school in the area? Ethan's eyes lit up. Really? Absolutely. Of course, you'd still have to pass the exams, but I can get information about scholarships, special programs. Olivia felt tears in her eyes seeing her son's excitement. Mr. Walter, you don't have to do this. Of course I do. Ethan is family now. When it was time for Walter to return to the hospital, he was visibly tired but happy. Thank you for this wonderful day, he said, hugging Olivia. It's been a long time since I felt this good. Thank you for understanding our situation, Olivia replied. Matthew, take good care of this family. I will, Grandpa. In the car, on the way to the hospital, Walter looked at his grandson. You made the right choice. We haven't even really started dating yet, but you chose well. Olivia is exactly the kind of woman you need. How can you be so sure? Because she made you lie to protect me. That shows she has a good heart. And because she was willing to confess the truth even knowing she'd lose the money. That shows character. Matthew nodded. Grandpa, what if things don't work out between us? They will. You just need time to really get to know each other. The next morning, Olivia woke up still trying to believe everything that had happened. She looked at the envelope with the remaining $25,000 Matthew had left before going home, and it still felt surreal. Ethan walked into the kitchen already dressed for school. Good morning, Mom. How are you feeling? Confused, she answered honestly. What do you think about all this? I think Mr. Matthew is a good person, and Grandpa Walter is amazing. Olivia smiled hearing Ethan call Walter Grandpa. You liked him? A lot. He reminded me of the grandpa I never knew. And what about me and Matthew? Ethan sat at the table. Mom, you've been alone for 3 years. You deserve to be happy. But all this happened so strangely. The best things in life sometimes happen strangely. Olivia kissed her son's forehead. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best mom in the world. During the day, Olivia took care of practical matters. She paid 3 months of overdue rent, settled the pharmacy debt, paid Ethan's school fees, and even arranged to have the roof fixed. In the afternoon, she got a call from George. Olivia, something strange happened. The restaurant owner called saying he changed his mind about firing you. What do you mean? He said an investor showed up offering money to renovate the restaurant on the condition that you keep working there. Olivia sighed. Matthew. George, I need to talk to you in person. An hour later, Olivia was in the restaurant's office telling George the whole truth. So you pretended to be a millionaire's wife? He asked, incredulous. I did, and now he wants to try a real relationship. Olivia, this sounds like a movie. I know I can hardly believe it's happening to me. And do you like him? Olivia thought about the question. I'm not sure yet, but I think I could. Then give the two of you a chance. That evening, Olivia dressed more carefully than usual. She chose her best outfit and styled her hair differently. When Matthew arrived to pick her up, she noticed he had also put effort into his appearance. You look beautiful, he said. Thank you, you look nice too. Matthew took her to an elegant but not overly fancy restaurant. Over dinner, they talked about their real lives without any pretense. Tell me about your marriage, Matthew asked. Olivia hesitated for a moment. I met Robert when I was 22. He worked at an auto shop near the restaurant where I was just starting out. He was a simple, honest, hard-working man. Were you happy? Very. For 15 years we were very happy. He adored Ethan. He was a wonderful father. How did he pass? Heart attack at 43. He was working on a Saturday afternoon when he felt chest pains. By the time they got to the hospital, it was too late. Matthew took her hand across the table. I'm so sorry. Thank you. And you? Have you ever been married? Never. I've had relationships, but nothing serious. I always prioritized work. Why? Fear, maybe. My parents split when I was a kid. They fought a lot before separating. I think it traumatized me. How old were you? 12. I went to live with my grandpa after the separation. Olivia understood why Walter was so important to Matthew. That must have been hard. It was, but my grandpa was like a father to me. He taught me how to be a man, how to work, how to have values. He's a special person. He is. That's why it was so important for me to see him happy before. Matthew couldn't finish the sentence. How is he really doing? Olivia asked gently. The doctors say he has a few weeks left at most. His heart is very weak. I'm so sorry. At least now he's happy. Thanks to you. Thanks to us, Olivia corrected. They kept talking for hours. Olivia discovered Matthew was simpler than she'd imagined. He liked reading, watching old movies, cooking on weekends. Matthew learned Olivia was smarter and more cultured than he'd expected. She read a lot, knew history, and had interesting opinions on many topics. Why didn't you study beyond high school? He asked. I didn't have the chance. I married young, had Ethan. Always worked to help with household expenses. Would you like to study now? I'd love to. I've always dreamed of taking a culinary course. Why don't you? Money, time, responsibilities. What if I said I could help with that? Olivia looked at him skeptically. Matthew, I don't want you to think I'm with you for money. I don't think that. But if we're going to try a relationship, I want you to fulfill your dreams too. It's too early to talk about this. You're right. I'm sorry. At the end of the night, Matthew took Olivia home. I enjoyed getting to know the real you, he said at her door. I enjoyed it too. Can we do this again tomorrow? We can. But this time I want to cook for you. Come over for dinner. Are you sure? I am. Ethan also wants to get to know you better. It would be my pleasure. They said goodbye with a kiss on the cheek, but Olivia felt a real connection forming between them. In the following days, Matthew became a constant presence in Olivia and Ethan's lives. He used to have dinner at their house almost every night, took Ethan to play soccer on weekends, accompanied Olivia on hospital visits to see Walter. How are things between you two? Walter asked during one of these visits. Good, Olivia replied. We're getting to know each other slowly. I like what I see, Walter said, observing the interaction between Olivia and Matthew. You complement each other. You think so? I'm sure of it. Matthew is more relaxed, happier, and so are you. It was true. Olivia felt different. It had been a long time since she'd felt so light, so hopeful. Mr. Walter, can I ask you something personal? Of course, dear. Aren't you afraid of passing? Walter smiled. No, Olivia. I've lived a full life, raised my grandson, built a business, loved and been loved. Now seeing Matthew happy, I can go in peace. He'll miss you terribly. I know. But now he has you and Ethan. He has a family. 2 weeks later, on a Sunday morning, Olivia received a call from Matthew. Olivia, my grandpa got sick during the night. He's in the hospital in the ICU. Olivia's heart raced. I'm on my way. You don't have to. I want to be there. He's family now. Olivia picked up Ethan and they went to the hospital. They found Matthew in the ICU waiting room, his eyes red. How is he? Olivia asked. Critical. The doctors say it's a matter of hours. Olivia hugged Matthew, and for the first time he let himself cry. He got to see me happy, Matthew murmured. That's all he wanted. And he knows you are happy, Olivia said. That's what matters. They spent the entire day at the hospital. By late afternoon, the doctors allowed Matthew into the ICU to say goodbye. Olivia stayed in the waiting room with Ethan, who was also emotional. In just a few weeks, Walter had become a father figure to the boy. An hour later, Matthew came out of the ICU with tears in his eyes. He's gone peacefully, he said simply. Olivia held him tight, feeling she'd lost someone special too. He was a wonderful man, she said. He was. And thanks to you, he was happy in his final days. Thanks to us, Olivia corrected, just as she had that first night. Walter Anderson's funeral was held on a rainy Tuesday morning. Hundreds of people came to say goodbye to the Anderson family, patriarch. Olivia and Ethan stood by Matthew's side throughout the ceremony. Thank you for being here, Matthew said after the burial. No need to thank us, Olivia replied. We're in this together. That night, Matthew had dinner at Olivia's, as had become routine, but he was clearly grieving. You know what's strange, he said. His house doesn't feel the same anymore. It's like a part of me left with him. It's normal to feel that way, Olivia comforted him. But he wouldn't have wanted you to be sad forever. I know, it's just, he was all the family I had. Ethan, who had been quiet until then, spoke up. Mr. Matthew, now you have us. Matthew looked at the boy and smiled for the first time in days. You're right, Ethan, now I have you. A week after the funeral, Matthew made a proposal that took Olivia by surprise. Olivia, I want you and Ethan to move into my grandpa's house. Matthew, it's too soon. I'm not asking us to get married now. I'm just offering a better home for you both. The house has 5 bedrooms. Ethan would have his own space. You'd have a proper kitchen. I don't know. Think about it, Olivia. You'd have more comfort, more security, and I can't stand being alone in that house full of memories. Olivia looked at Ethan, who nodded encouragingly. We can try it, she said, but with some conditions. What? Separate rooms, and no extravagant spending on me and Ethan. Agreed. And I want to keep working at the restaurant. I agree too. The move happened the following weekend. Walter's house was truly impressive. 2 stories, a spacious garden, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms and a kitchen that was any cook's dream. Mum, it's like a castle, said Ethan, exploring his new room. It's so big, murmured Olivia, feeling intimidated. You'll get used to it, said Matthew, and you'll make this house a home again. In the weeks that followed, Olivia and Matthew continued getting to know each other better. She discovered he could play the piano, loved comedy movies, and was afraid of heights. He learned that she sang while cooking, read romance novels before bed, and dreamed of traveling to the beach. Ethan also adjusted well to his new life. His room was 3 times bigger than before, had a large desk for studying, and Matthew had set up a computer to help with school research. How's the adjustment going? Matthew asked one evening as they watched TV in the living room. Better than I expected, Olivia replied. You're easy to live with. You too. Sometimes I wonder why it took me so long to find someone like you. Maybe it wasn't the right time before. And now it is? Olivia looked at him and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. I think so. That was the night they kissed for the first time. A soft, unhurried kiss, full of tenderness and possibility. I've wanted to do that for a long time, Matthew confessed. Me too, Olivia admitted. 3 months later, on a Saturday afternoon, Matthew asked the question Olivia had been waiting for. Olivia, I know it's still early, I know we haven't known each other long, but would you marry me? Olivia looked at him, at the house that had become her home, at Ethan reading a book in the garden. Yes, she said simply. Yes, I'll marry you. The wedding was a simple ceremony in a small church, with only a few close friends. Ethan was the ring bearer, and Olivia wore an elegant yet understated dress that Matthew had insisted on buying for her. Are you sure you want this? Olivia asked on the morning of the wedding, looking at herself in the mirror. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, Matthew replied, appearing behind her in the reflection, even knowing it comes with a teenager in the package. Especially knowing that Ethan is a wonderful boy. And my simple life? My job at the restaurant? Olivia, I don't want you to change a thing. I want you exactly as you are. The wedding was perfect, small, intimate, full of real love. During the ceremony, Olivia looked at the few people present and felt complete. George was there, representing the restaurant. Emily, her sister, had come with her whole family. Some of Ethan's school friends also attended. I now pronounce you husband and wife, the priest said. You may kiss the bride. The kiss was met with warm applause. Olivia felt tears of happiness in her eyes. I love you, Matthew whispered in her ear. I love you too, she replied, and she meant it. The reception was held at the house that was now theirs. Olivia had cooked for all the guests, preparing the dishes she loved making most. The living room was decorated with simple flowers from the garden, and soft music played in the background. Mom, are you happy? Ethan asked during the party. Very happy, son, and you? Me too, we finally have a whole family again. 6 months after the wedding, Olivia was in the kitchen preparing dinner when Matthew came home from work with a surprise. Olivia, I have news for you. What news? I got you a spot in the university's culinary arts program. Olivia stopped, stirring the bolognese sauce, and looked at him. What do you mean? You've always said you wanted to study culinary arts. So I looked into the available courses and got you a scholarship. Matthew, that's wonderful, but how will I manage it with work? You can reduce your hours at the restaurant, or if you prefer, you can stop working and focus just on your studies. I don't want to stop working, I love what I do. Then we'll find a way to balance everything. A year later, Olivia was graduating from culinary school. Ethan had been accepted into medical school and was studying at one of the best universities in the area. Matthew had expanded his business, but always kept his focus on family. I can't believe all of this started with a lie, Olivia said one night, snuggled against her husband in bed. It was a lie that became the greatest truth of our lives, Matthew replied. Do you think your grandpa would know how everything turned out? I'm sure he knows, and he's happy for us. Olivia smiled and nestled deeper into her husband's chest. You know what's funny? What? When you first offered me that $20,000, I thought it was the most absurd amount I'd ever heard. And now I know what I gained is priceless. I gained a family, a husband, a future for my son, and I gained the woman of my dreams. 2 years later, on a Sunday morning, Olivia woke up feeling nauseous. Matthew was in the shower when she discovered the reason. Matthew, she called from the bedroom. What is it? He asked, stepping out of the bathroom with a towel around his waist. I'm pregnant. Matthew stood still for a moment, processing the news. Pregnant, are you sure? I just took the test, it's positive. Matthew rushed to her and scooped her up, spinning her around the room. We're having a baby, he shouted. We're having a baby, Olivia repeated, laughing. Ethan, who had been studying in his room, appeared at the door. What's going on here? You're going to have a little sister, Olivia said. Ethan grinned from ear to ear. Really? That's amazing. That night, the three of them sat in the living room to talk about the news. How are we going to manage with the baby? Ethan asked. Do you need help? We do, Matthew replied. But we'll figure it out. We're a family. A real family, Olivia added. The best family in the world, Ethan said. On the day Sophia, Olivia, and Matthew's daughter was born, the whole family was at the hospital. Ethan held his newborn sister with infinite care. "She's perfect," he murmured. "She's our princess," Matthew said, tears in his eyes. Olivia watched the scene and remembered everything she had been through to get there. The financial struggles, the deception with Walter, the fear of not being accepted, the uncertainties about her relationship with Matthew. "What are you thinking about?" Matthew asked. "How quickly life can change. 3 years ago I was desperate, with no money, worried about Ethan's future, and now we have all this," Matthew said, looking at their gathered family. "Thanks to your grandpa," Olivia said. "If he hadn't understood our situation, if he hadn't forgiven us for the lie—" "Grandpa Walter was right," Ethan said. "You two were perfect for each other." 5 years later, Olivia was in the kitchen of her own restaurant. After graduating from culinary school, she had decided to start her own business. Olivia's kitchen was a cozy restaurant serving sophisticated homemade food. "How's business today?" Matthew asked, appearing in the kitchen. "Busy, as always," Olivia replied, smiling. "Who would have thought I'd ever have my own restaurant? I knew from the first dish you ever made me." Ethan, now 25 and a medical school graduate, arrived for the Sunday lunch that had become a family tradition. "Where's my little sister?" he asked. "Playing in the garden," Olivia said. "How's work at the hospital?" "Really good. Next week I start working in pediatrics." "Grandpa Walter would be proud," said Matthew. "I'm sure he is proud," and corrected Olivia, "of all of us." That night, after putting Sophia to sleep, Olivia and Matthew went for a walk in the garden of their house. "Have you ever imagined what our life would be like if we hadn't met?" asked Olivia. "I'd rather not imagine," replied Matthew. "I'd probably still be alone, buried in work. And I'd still be struggling to pay the bills, worried about Ethan's future. But we did meet, and we built all of this together." Olivia stopped and looked at the lit-up house where Ethan was helping Sophia with her homework. You know the most amazing part of this whole story? What? It started with $50,000, but what we gained is priceless. Love really is priceless, agreed Matthew. I'm not just talking about love. I'm talking about family, purpose, achieving dreams. Ethan in medical school, you with your restaurant. Sophia growing up in a close-knit family and up. Exactly. Those $50,000 were just the beginning. Matthew hugged her from behind and whispered in her ear. "And to think you said no 5 times before accepting." Olivia laughed. "Good thing you insisted. Good thing you finally said yes." They stood there, embraced in the garden, watching the house where they had built their life together. The house that once belonged to Walter Anderson, the man who had blessed their union, even knowing it had begun with a lie. In Sophia's room, the 5-year-old slept peacefully, holding a small photo frame with a picture of the great-grandfather she had never met in person, but who had been so important to her existence. On Olivia and Matthew's nightstand, there was a photo of the family gathered last Christmas, all smiling, all happy, all grateful for the life they had built together. And somewhere, in each of their hearts, lived the memory of Walter Anderson, the man who had taught them that true love sometimes begins in unexpected ways, but when it's real, it lasts forever. The story that had started with a desperate millionaire's indecent proposal to a struggling cook had turned into a beautiful tale of love, family, and triumph, proving that sometimes the best endings are the ones that start with the most unlikely beginnings. The end of the story. Now tell us what you thought of the story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave your sincere words in the comments. Do you think Olivia made the right decision? We'd love to read your opinion. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories.